Hello, beautiful one. It's me, Kirsten, and this is the It's Giving Mystical podcast. And this is your podcast, your weekly podcast for the week ahead, the week of September 13th. How is everyone doing? How did everyone finish up that devil week? The tower and the devil, the real 1-2 punch from the universe. And I say that lightly, but I know that in some people's field and some people's experiences, that has not been a light touch. And all I can do is encourage you to be kind to yourself, to be gentle with yourself, to not make yourself wrong, like anyone else wrong. It's so tempting, right? It's so tempting to say, like, if this were different, or I were different, or they were different, or I handled it differently, or I did this differently, or I was raised differently, that things would be better. And you don't know, like, you just don't know how things would be. And there's something about the deep, deep courage it takes to face life as it meets you, and to not turn away, and to not shift blame or discussion, but to say, this is what's true for me. This is the life I find myself in this moment. And this is what I'm going to do with the life I've been given, the time I've been given, the moment I've been given. What is life asking of me? What is life unfolding into? And how can I be more present with just what's true? Like just what's true without any coloring around the edges of it's supposed to be different. The devil, the one thing I really didn't say in the podcast, and it's important to remember, is that the devil will bring up all kinds of addictions and behaviors that are not in our highest interest. And the really good way, there's lots of ways to talk about this and lots of ways to gauge this. And you guys have heard me say, one of my favorite definitions of addiction is the narrowing of what brings us pleasure. You know, I put something on Instagram the other day and someone commented on it like, you must be smoking the good stuff. I don't know how they meant it. It came across a little crunchy. I didn't love it. But the idea was like, I had to be high to be happy. I had to be high to be feeling into the magic of the world. And I just want to invite you into the possibility that, and I know you're there. I know you're there if you're listening to this podcast with me, but maybe not all the way, right? Because I'm not there all the way. Like, we're not there all the way. So this idea of when my pleasure gets really narrow, and the only way for me to access pleasure is through this one thing or this one relationship or this one dynamic or this one behavior, there's something about that that just calls for our attention, because the possibility of pleasure in the world, especially if you're in a feminine body, if you identify as feminine in any aspect of your being, the feminine in all of us has access to such a wide, varied, subtle, dramatic, like intense experience of pleasure, a whole body experience of being in pleasure just by being in the world. And there's something about that that wants to be expanded for all of us. So when the devil comes up, there's just this sense of, remember that the hangover matters. Tracking, not only what brings you pleasure, but the things that bring you pleasure, do they nourish you? Do they sustain you? Or do they leave you with a bit of a hangover? And those two things are just like a really good litmus test, right? A really good litmus test of, if I'm only finding pleasure in this one place, what else might be possible? And if I'm feeling kind of hung over from my pleasures, from my indulgences, what is that telling me? Like, I might be feeling good in the moment, but how am I paying for it on the other side? There's an exercise we're going to do in the pre-journey call for the Tarot Mystery School that was first introduced to me by my teacher, Cass Phelps. That really helps us understand, like, what is in here with my heart? Like, what's on my team in this experiment, in this container? And what is pulling my energy outside of that space, outside of that nourishment? And again, like, it's not to judge it. I found myself this week sitting on the couch looking at TikTok and my head hurt. Like, I didn't really want to be on TikTok, but I just was tired and maybe defeated on some level, and just kind of feeding that part of me. There's no judgment there, but there's a close your eyes, take a breath, connect with your body. Is this where you want to be? Is this feeding you the way you deserve to be fed, sweet child, the way you deserve to be fed? That comes up. It didn't really come up so clearly when I did last week's forecast, but it's coming up as an echo of this past week. Just noticing energies around addiction, around depletion, around hangover, and around pleasure. And ta-da, drum roll please, the tarot gave us the Empress energy to work with this week. The Empress, the weather, the atmosphere of Empress. What a powerful, powerful moment we're in. It's so interesting, right? Because you look back in August and it was like 2 or 3 fours in a row where it was like, okay, we're just going to stay still. Right, it was the Four of Pentacles, the Four of Cups, and then the Seven of Pentacles. Like 3 weeks of like, just wait here, baby, I'll be right back. And then since then, it's been Tower, Devil, Empress. The major arcana, these are major through lines in a life, in an experience, in an investigation of yourself, in a reclaiming of yourself, in a coming home to yourself. Tower, let me put you in this new place. Let me break down this old home that is no longer fits you. Devil, baby, you have room to stretch out. Don't hold yourself so tight. Don't worry, darling. Like, this is a new space, but you deserve to be here. And it's okay that it's uncomfortable, and it's okay that it's unsure. Trust me, like, trust life, trust yourself, that life wants more pleasure, more joy, more experience, more engagement with you. And just as you stretch those roots out, just as you kind of experiment and maybe prune things that need to get pruned, or maybe pull off a dry leaf or two, the Empress comes in, and she comes in like sunshine, like a summer rain, like a light touch. She comes in with just so much abundant love. And I love this like plant metaphor. Are you tracking me on this? Like, it's such an interesting thing, right? Repotted, stretch your roots out, do the pruning that's necessary, clean yourself up a little bit, like clean up some of the loose edges, and then let the sunshine wash over your skin. Let the rain soak over your skin. Let yourself suck up all the good juice. That's what the Empress is. The Empress is pure abundance. 3 is pure generative abundance. The 3 energy is the Trinity. It's like perfection. We really call that the perfect number in numerology and the perfect number in tarot, because it's really what's here. It's spirit, it's material, it's creation. It's the 1 and the 2 coming together to create something brand new, something never been seen before, never been done before. There's this beautiful, abundant, generous, generative energy that comes with the 3. The 3 is the Empress. The Empress is the earth energy, earth mother. It is the goddess of fertility. It is the goddess of abundance and harvest and like all the good things. Like, come home, baby, and enjoy all the good things. Let me rub your back. Let me feed you your favorite foods. Let me read to you and sing you songs while you lay in the sun. There's just this like desire from the Empress to treat you, for you to feel good, for it to feel good to be in the world. So it's interesting that that kind of echo of addiction and pleasure and hangover kind of came in. And the Empress is really saying to you, dream big. Ask for the big thing. I'm reading this beautiful book, Cassia Urbanik, Unbound. I think that one of my mentors, Joy, shared it with me, and I had seen it, but I hadn't really gotten into it, and I picked it back up. It's such a beautiful book about power dynamics, about how much room women allow themselves in the world, and spoiler alert, we don't allow ourselves a lot of room in the world. And it's coinciding with the start of the Tarot Mystery School and coinciding with me embarking on this assistant role with Steven, embarking into these one-day workshops I'm going to be offering next year. And I'm thinking so much about women and so much about how little room we offer ourselves. And it's true for men too, but in my world, in my work, I'm focused on what that means for women in this moment. And there's something about the Empress that's coming in, washing in to say, life is allowed to feel good. You are allowed to feel good. You are a beloved, beloved, beloved child of this universe. And anything you want, it wants you too. Anything you want, it wants you too. Anything you desire, anything you need, anything you're calling for, it's valid. It's so valid. And do you even know? The Empress comes in to say, what's your wish? It's like a fairy godmother. What's your wish? And she comes in and says, you can have more fun in this lifetime. And she comes in and says, what else can I get you, baby? You want another cup of tea? Like, she comes in with just this endless, endless generosity. And so much of our own limitations, that small space we allow ourselves, is because there's just confusion. There's interesting cultural narratives around what we're allowed, what it means to take up space, what it means to be your full self. Does that on some secret ninja level deplete from other people? Is there a pot? There's only so much in the pot. Like, if I take too much, where does that leave everyone else? Or, am I going to be seen as X, Y, and Z if I take too much or I want too much? And it's honestly, that's my edge of growth right now. For sure, I'm doing a session with Nina tomorrow morning just for that very reason, to kind of confront that and be with that. These edges sneak up on us. And when the Empress comes, it's beautiful and generative and amazing, and it feels good. And it's often an edge. There are very few of us living who say, I give myself everything I want. I allow myself everything I want. I ask every question. I have every conversation. I make true every desire. Like, there's very few of us who kind of get to the edge of that. And that's okay. It's the model from the universe is boundless and endless and infinite. So you can keep stretching and wanting and desiring and growing, and there will always be more. And the Empress is this beautiful moment of, what else do you want, baby? How good can it feel, baby? What can I get you, baby? So I want you to take this energy into the week ahead, and I want you to really promise me that you're going to honor what your heart is calling for. You're going to honor what you want. You're going to honor what feels good, and you're going to keep an awareness around what feels good in a way that just feeds you, and what feels good in a way that you get a hangover, like you feel depleted on the other side. And not to judge that shit, but just to become aware of it. There are things I can feed myself with that actually increase my energetic field, that increase my capacity. And there are things that I might find pleasure in that deplete my energetic capacity, and just like become aware of that and like notice the possibilities around that. The Empress is so beautiful, and she says to us beauty matters. She says to us generosity matters. She says to us our desires matter. Whatever we are called to create and build and birth into the world, it wants to be born. Rick Rubin, who wrote The Creative Way, Creative Way or Creative Act, I love him so much. Along with Gay Hendricks, is one of those audiobooks I listen to just kind of on the background, because it just makes me feel good to hear what he's saying and the energetic transmission of what he's communicating about the life of an artist. But he says that this idea, have you ever had that moment? You have this idea for a book, and then 6 months later, you see that book on the shelf, and you're like, they stole my idea, or I had that idea first. And he says it's this endless, infinite flow of what wants to be born, what wants to be created. And if we're paying attention, if we're lucky enough, we're the fisherman standing on the edge that grabs it. We're the one that scoops it out of the river and says, I will care for you, I will love you, I will see you become form. So just remember, any tightness around what you're here to do, maybe this week you get a little loose with that. Maybe this week you take it all a little less seriously, and you just know that if something's calling to your heart, it's because it wants to be born as well, because it wants to use you as the vehicle for which it can arrive. How it can arrive, actually show up in the world. What wants to be born wants to be born. And if you're lucky enough to meet something in the river that says, can you birth me? Grab it, try it. Who knows what could happen? Who knows what just the gesture towards might offer in your life, in your day-to-day living. It's just another experiment with life, another possibility for what might feel good, what might be possible. All right, Empress energy. Enjoy this week. Bathe, bask in her loveliness, bask in beauty, bask in pleasure, bask in how fair and vital and beautiful your desires are. Sending you so much love, and please, we have our pre-journey call later today. If you want to get on that, come sign up for Tarot Mystery School, and we're going to start on the 1st, and it's going to be gorgeous. It's going to be beautiful, and I would love to have you in that community with us. And also, if you're interested in the work with Steven, reach out to me about that. And otherwise, lots of good things coming in 2025. I'm just so grateful for this space, this practice, and for tarot, and for you. All my blessings, all my love, and check you later. Bye. It's giving everything is sacred. It's giving art. It's giving light you up and turn you on and set you free. It's giving curiosity. It's giving freedom. It's giving love. It's giving you are more magical and powerful than you can comprehend. It's giving, I don't know what's happening, but I am so here for it. It's giving you are pure potential. It's giving mystical.